unlike our amazing ladies here we have with us. And thank you again, Alissa, for joining us today. And so what we like to talk about when we have a guest on, we like to start with,
Who are you?
Who are you? Who are you, mystery woman?
You mean you want to know me?
Yes.
Okay, well, so just a little bit about me and my background. So I was in corporate sales for about 11 years out of college. And then I took a small break to be the domestic officer of our home. So I was a stay-at-home.
Love that.
I was a stay-at-home
Love
mom
that.
Domestic officer. How about that?
Right,
That's
the chief
good.
domestic officer. And my husband gave me that title, so I owned it.
So good.
I ran with it. So after those 3 years, and it was the longest and the shortest 3 years of my life.
Yes.
Looking back on it. But after those 3 years, my husband and I just were really having some conversations about, do you want to go back? We had learned to live on one income, which was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But
Fascinating.
yeah. But anyway, just having some conversations about, what do you really actually want to do? If you don't have to go back into corporate sales, you don't have to do the corporate grind. What are you passionate about? And can you take some of those skills and can you take some of that knowledge and find something to apply it to? And I sold.
So you guys as a couple sat down and had that conversation?
We did, actually on a few different occasions. It was kind of an ongoing conversation over the course of a few months.
That's a hard conversation to have in today's world. Should I go back to work or shouldn't I? And what should I do? Should I follow my heart? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's not something that's common.
Yeah, absolutely. I had been a stay-at-home mom for about 3.5 years. And so through a series of, just some life events, it was time for me to go back. So thinking through that, talking through it, praying through it, what does that look like? And so he was like, what are you passionate about? Like, what would you actually see yourself doing? Not in corporate sales. And I said, well, I'd see myself doing something meaningful, number one, because I was actually selling corporate software. I was business to business, and that was great, but the software that I sold actually eliminated people's jobs in some scenarios, not in all scenarios. But so for me, it was like, what's meaningful? We can apply these, we can apply some of the things that I had learned over the course of that 10.5 years. And a friend of mine had said, you should be in real estate. You should be in real estate. And it's funny, people say you should be in real estate because of a personality or because of, you can talk or whatever. And I'm like, well, I know a lot of people that shouldn't be in real estate that can do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if that's the only qualification. But anyway, so she said it, and he was sort of simultaneously like, do you want to get into lending? Do you want to get into the real estate industry? And so anyway, we actually did a lot of sort of, let's look at all aspects of this before just jumping in. So we did that probably a couple of months. I actually talked to, I think, 6 agents before I got licensed.
Great.
And that was 4 years ago. This month, 4 years ago in June, was when I jumped in.
Awesome.
You know who her agent was about how long ago? 4 years ago?
It
5
was
years ago?
August would be 6 years ago.
Okay, 6 years ago, Mr. Jim Payne.
Oh,
You like Jim Payne,
I like
don't
Jim,
you?
yes.
Jim's a great agent.
He is just
And
one
that
of
was
the most professional.
That was his first transaction.
Oh, no way,
These days,
really? Yeah.
Well, okay, so I talked to him about this. I keep saying we were his first transaction because that validates me, makes me feel super special and important. But he told me at our meetup Monday a month ago, he was like, you were my second.
No.
I was like, Jim,
Oh.
Don't tell me these things.
I was like, you ripped this from me. So
Too funny. Well,
But I'm gonna stick
Second ain't
with-
bad. I mean,
yeah.
but what was the point of bringing it up was he was even that good back then that you really couldn't tell that was his only a second.
We had no idea. In fact, after that transaction closed, or maybe it was while we were under contract, we were like, how long have you been in the business? And he was like, about 3.5 months. And I was like, oh, wow. But it never in a million years did it cross my mind that that he was literally brand new.
Wasn't he married into the business though? Wasn't
I think his wife had
Robin's been in the
licensed.
business a while.
Yeah, but hers was new construction.
Oh, okay.
A different animal.
Well, at least you're like hear the lingos when you're around the kitchen table, possibly, or something
he
like that.
He definitely did not seem like a
No.
No, but he's always so put together.
He's a professional.
He definitely is.
He is a professional.
And he is one that knows how to pivot, and he gets told no, and he knows how to turn that no to yes. So I love that about him.
He was very knowledgeable. He was wonderful. But I remember when we wrote a contract on this house, and we knew this house wasn't in our most favorite neighborhood, and Jim was like, "Are you sure you love the neighborhood?"
Sure.
And we were like, well, thanks for asking and thanks for caring. We know the neighborhood's not the most amazing, but we want to be on this cul-de-sac. And that was part of why we had bought the property. So we explained, he was like, oh, okay, all right. I just wanted to, so he was covering all of his bases.
caring, going the extra mile.
Yeah, he was just like, is this your favorite? Is this the neighborhood you really desire? And we're like, well, here's why.
Yeah.
Love that.
No, most agents aren't going to throw that out there because that's a question that's setting you up for a long-term, unless you get your license, a long-term client, to be leaning into in the future.
Well, within these 4 years, you've had two where you're approaching a new market, but you had your COVID market, and then this year too, right? That's a unique and challenging year in itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. COVID was interesting though. I tell you, my business, it was like it launched into outer space in March and April.
Outstanding.
I think I showed more properties in April than I did in January, February, and March combined.
Amazing. So you're kind of still on the spectrum on, not to say rookie at all or newer, but what would you say you have learned within the first 2 years to have you prepared for the year of COVID, or that year of last year with you launching your career to a whole new level? What do you think you took out of it as a real estate agent?
Well, I think just prior to COVID, I think having had a schedule set me up to continue that even when the shutdown happened. So I was still getting up, doing those things that I knew were going to, my routine and kind of some of those success factors. I wasn't, I think everybody enjoyed some amount of just, wow, we're home, we're cooking. Oh my goodness, I gained like 20 pounds just because I was cooking. And we had all the time in the world to do all the things we were supposed to be doing, like working out. But anyway, I think the routine and just knowing like we're going to do these things every single day. And I've always been a routine
consistency
person.
on that.
Yeah.
Huge.
So I feel like that really set me up going into COVID, as far as just my business really was that was about the time it was really just, taking off.
I don't think any of us were prepared for COVID. I wasn't, absolutely. But I was prepared to have, like you said, the consistency of a routine to be ready for something, not knowing what it is, possibly knowing that if things were going to go the other direction, that we were able to think creatively, to do different things, but stay consistent. So I love that, especially for those that are newer out there.
You live your life though in pivot. I think you have those muscles that pivot to whatever direction you need to pivot to, which puts you in an offensive position when a COVID comes along rather than a defensive mode. Now what do I do? I think no one pivots quicker than what you do. I've learned a lot of watching you and how you work.
I think that has a lot to do with 8 years ago, losing my job, not having a paycheck for 120 days and having a brand new baby. You got to learn, right? You got to learn.
For you.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden I saw this flash last year come slowly coming across going, oh gosh, is this happening again?
I mean, when you build a team like you've done, and you have the overhead that we have, it does make you more mindful about what the hell's going on here, Yeah.
And the other thing too is we're all self-employed here. We all run our own paychecks per se. The harder we work, the more we make, type of thing. And being a broker, you have multiple people under you that you can't control, right? And I as well. But I knew who I could control was me. So I knew if I still had, my rent was still going to be what it is every month, whether people were in the office or not. I still had to make sure I was closing enough to cover the bills, so I stayed afloat. So I think some of us have learned to pivot. and continue. I mean, there's even days now where we're having to do that, right? The competition is thick and stronger, and they're actually better. Meaning there's some people that actually have studied over last year, and I'm like, wow, they knew how to close that, the way I would have done it, type of thing. Or, and today I think we're going to be talking about, gaining more traction with listing homes or having the opportunity to
I think
do more listings.
Recently, Alissa went on a listing appointment and I think came out away because she was competing with somebody else, and I think came away with the understanding that, and she hears me harp on it all the time, is, look, guys, anybody can sell a home right now. If that's your ultimate goal, as far as put a sign out there, you can hire a monkey to do that. If that's what you're going to rest your reputation on, is, wow, look at me, I sold a house real quickly. There's a heck of a lot more involved than just selling a house. And I challenge our agents all the time on our calls and on our trainings that, look, we're an industry. We are in an industry that has been challenged like never before. And if you're going to rest your reputation on the fact that you sold a home in 2 days in an environment that anybody could sell that home in 2 days, if that's the goal, then shame on you, because you don't have a long-term career looking at you if that's what you're going to rest it on, because that's what the consumer is saying. Look, I don't need to pay $20,000, for somebody to put a sign in my front yard, if that's all you're doing. If you're not positioning yourself, last week, a house on our same street in Brentwood, and granted, it's my street, and so I'm especially a little more sensitive about that, but here it was Thursday. I was in a training last week, and I brought this listing to our agents. We had a training last week on flood insurance, and I said, don't be this agent. Don't be this agent a lot. And normally I don't mention names or anything. Now this was a listing up. Everybody could see who it was, but that wasn't who it wasn't the point.
Didn't black it out.
No, I sure as hell didn't, because I would tell this person to their face, shame on you, shame on you. We have $1 million, let's say over $1 million home in a great neighborhood, and on Thursday, all that's being marketed is a sell picture that was probably 3 months old. There wasn't even any leaves on the tree, okay? On the trees. And this is one of the prettiest homes on the street. Okay, I have to know that, but 3 months ago, maybe none of them were, And here these agents are putting this thing out on Thursday. First of all, they put it on Wednesday, coming soon. Thursday is still coming soon. There's no pictures on it. Finally Friday, they activate it and say all offers due on Monday. Now, I'm sorry, but that's not a great marketing plan. It just really isn't. And I get it that if you don't do enough listings, you don't know the system, but to expect everybody to, first of all, people have to like what they see on the outside before they want to see the inside, first of all. And that requires professional photos. And if that means you need to be delayed a week, you need to do that to give your sellers the best opportunity as possible. Connie and I sold our home on the same street, and I can promise you we got over $200,000 more than what this home will sell for, probably over $400,000 more than this home's going to sell for. And the marketing had something to do with it.
Sure.
I mean, I know that I get really passionate about this topic, guys. If you're a real estate agent and you're not bringing your A game to the table, all I'm saying is shame on you. And I know that's not what we're here for. We're here to build people up and encourage people. But I'm telling you, there's a war on our future if we continue to refuse to make sure the consumer has a wonderful experience. They're going to be tempted to choose other companies that don't have our best interest.
Sure.
Nor will they help our future to be around long term, because they're tech companies with billions of dollars to throw at the marketing, which we don't have. And so we better counteract that with outstanding service and making sure our consumers have a great experience.